Hello and welcome to this week's GG Weekend Watch, where we are back fully jumping this time around from Ascot and Wetherby, where the Charlie Hall is the feature, as well as other graded and listed contests from Wetherby. Not forgetting, though, some really competitive Premier handicaps, as they're now called, at Ascot as well. And I will be looking forward to all of these jump races in the company of none other even than Daryl Carter and Andrew Mount as well, who had another brilliant week last week. So hopefully we can keep this momentum up, because last week, just to start with, it was at the head of the list. So of course it's not just me putting it up there. Knight winning at 10-1 for Kate. Max Vega, though, Andrew had to outdo there, 22-1, tipped up by Andrew, winning Max Vega. Piper winning at 5-6 in the end. We did tip him up though, Daryl, at 6-4. My nap, Daryl tipped him up as well. Bella Scintilla 9-2, placed, tipped up by Andrew. Legend of Xanadu 12-1, tipped up by Andrew. Epictetus, whose name I still can't get right, 3-1, placed when he was tipped up by Andrew. And Antire 8-1, placed, tipped up by Daryl. So yeah, as I say, no pressure, but we need to take this momentum forwards now over the jumps, lads, please. So we will begin at Ascot with a novices limited handicap chase for 4-year-olds and over 2 mile 3 at 1:30, where Goshen, oh my Goshen, makes his chase debut. So hold on to your hats here, lads, because he is the market leader currently, 6-4, 3 rivals to contend with. So Andrew, would you like to kick us off, please?
Yeah, this is funny. When I first looked at Goshen running here, I thought he's going over fences a bit late. He must be 8. And then I looked at him, crikey, he's only a 6-year-old. It seems we've been discussing him for, God knows how many years.
Yeah.
I mean, he's by authorised, whose progeny have got a superior strike rate over fences compared to hurdles. So you could argue that he's going to improve for the larger obstacles. If you could choose the ground, you'd probably want heavy, wouldn't you? Or at least proper soft. So it might not be, slow enough for him. How's he going to jump? Who knows? Fascinating to see him turn up. Couldn't be bothered to back him at sort of 6-4, though. I'm looking elsewhere. Samari for the Nichols Yard was one of the interesting ones. He seems best right-handed. He did bomb out here once over hurdles last year, but sort of ran too badly to be true that day, I thought. And you look at his record right-handed in fields of 11 or fewer runners, it's 3 from 3. So, if I was going to choose, between the front two in the market, I'd go with him over Goshen. Cobbler's Dream I was particularly interested in. Sire Yates has had 1,267 runners over fences. If you backed every single one, you'd only make a tiny loss, £9.78 or less than 0.8% at SP. If you took the best evening price the night before racing, you'd have made 348 quid or over 27% on turnover. And I was a big fan of Cobbler's Dream's run in the Lanzarote last year. Big field typically for that race, probably helped to be, helped to race wide and come from off the pace as it does in that race. Yeah, he's ground it out from the front. That really impressed me. He goes particularly well when fresh. And, I thought, maybe, was he 9-2, something like that? I'd take a chance with him. Gal Road, when this one made his chase debut at Perth last month, a friend of mine suggested that, the track was unsuitable. He shouldn't be running. He's only going up there because Nigel Twiston-Davies likes to go on the piss, and that's. And I did look at his sort of chase debutantes at Perth in September. My God, he's got a terrible record. It does seem like it might just be an excuse to get out of the house for a couple of nights. So I'd expect to see Gal Road do better here. It's one of those ones where you just want to stick them all in the play spot and just enjoy the race for what it's going to tell you for the rest of the season. But I'll come down on the side of Cobbler's Dream. But it wouldn't surprise me if any of the forward run. But it's a cracking race to start with.
It is, isn't it? Like you say, small runner field there, but going to take on Goshen then at the head of a market with Cobbler's Dream at 9-2. But I mean, to be fair, don't we all just take Perth as an excuse for a piss up anyway? It's the only reason I ever took a horse up there beforehand. So yeah, if that is true, if there is any truth in that, we love a bit of rumour. Kyle Road might well improve, but Cobbler's Dream as the main play for Andrew. Daryl, how do you play it?
Yeah, I like Gal Road. I thought he'd improve a good deal for that. I agree. I didn't think that the track suited him at all. I thought he was very awkward around the sharp right-handed bends. Yeah, I thought it was just a performance that just screamed that he would improve over fences again, and that was actually his first run right-handed, I believe. So he might be better going left-handed. I don't know, but I'd be willing to give him another chance with fitness on his side and sort of that run under his belt. He definitely jumped like he. I mean, I've seen so many novice chases in the past, like the signs that they're going to improve, and I'm pretty hopeful that he will definitely step forward from that. I thought Goshen. I thought he was a. I love this horse. Don't get me wrong, we both do, Kate, don't we?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I thought he was a woeful price at 13-8. Absolutely woeful. He's a free going sort, look, as we know, and for me, his attribute over hurdles was that he just bulldozed them. He sort of ran down a lot of them because he can jump out to the right. And he just sort of killed races in the mid part of the race with his speed. And then, like, he was just getting from A to B really over hurdles, a lot of them. But he had killed the race by 2 out in many of his contests last year. I can't look at him and see how he's going to jump a fence well. I really can't. I understand what Andrew's saying about his sire, but him as a horse, he just, for me, doesn't arch his back over hurdles. He doesn't leave enough room. He doesn't bring his legs high enough. There's just so many things that I see in him that I don't see him being a chaser. I think, before I started doing this race, I thought he was either going to absolutely muller these and be favourite for the Arkle, right? Or his race will be done within 3 fences. And I'm honestly leaning towards the latter, that his race will be done within 3 fences. Now, I know those are strong words. You shouldn't put your neck on the line. But for me, I just don't see how he's going to improve over fences, given what his attributes were over hurdles. And jumping certainly wasn't one of them. So, yeah, I'm happy to take him on. I thought Sam Reeve was interesting, definitely going to improve for a fence. I just didn't know if I could trust him. And Cobbler's Dream was interesting. He's got a fantastic record in handicaps, and if he continues where he left off last year, he'll be a big danger. But I thought Gowrow, with the experience under his belt and taking a step forward, I thought he definitely almost run up to his hurdle form at Perth without being overexerted. So I thought he'd go well, and it'd be my choice.
Yeah, and you were right as well. That was his first run right-handed as well last time out at Perth. So, yeah, going here right-handed again then for Gowrow, the outsider of the 4-runner field. But totally agree. This is going to be one way or another for Goshen. He's not just going to sort of just about get there, is he? He's either going to be super impressive or it's not going to go well. I can't tell. So I'm just going to look forward to enjoying it. I'll leave that race to both of you to have tipped that up. Right, we switch to Wetherby, where we have a novices hurdle for 4-year-olds and over 2 miles 3.5 furlongs at 150, 11 runners. Not the easiest to solve. Daryl, back to you, please.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I'm going to have a bet in this, but I've just seen some of the prices now that Prairie Wolves are 2-1 fav. That's too short for me. I know Ballyglass is a nice horse. He's got that nice bump for from last year, but Prairie Wolf was really well placed at Uttoxeter in a very slowly run race and still couldn't get the job done. So that performance was like, I mean, it's not going to take a lot to win this, but it's going to take more than that to win this. Learn a lot for Ollie Murphy. I thought was one of the more interesting ones. I thought that horse was going to be favourite, actually. So seeing 7-2 is quite strange. He's already run at the course, ran behind the 120 rated Riley when last seen back in March. Just for me, just sort of lacks the pace, really. I think we'll see the best of this horse when he goes up and trip into 3 miles. I thought Joe the Dancer was the most interesting for Ben Pauling, who's got a good record in this race. And this horse was miles clear on its point-to-point before falling. And there's some form lines in there that tie it back to the likes of Ballyadam. Now, that's obviously, stretching a bit, but like there are plenty of like 115 to 120 form lines in from that race, from that one point to point. And that's all it's going to take to win this. It's not very deep at all. It's not one of the better renewals that we've seen either. So I thought the market would slightly underestimate Joe the Dancer. So that also do.
Yeah, Joe did answer. Why is that so tricky to say for me? Then on the back of that fall, but Ben Pauling with a good record in this race. But yeah, I mean, I thought Autumn Return would be favourite, and Daryl thought that Learnt a Lot would be fav. And yeah, I mean, it's a tricky race to weigh up, is it, Andrew?
Yeah, I'm interested in the same two horses as Daryl, particularly Learned a Lot. I mean, Joe de Dancer, you're guessing basically 6-4 favourite for a point, fell when clear. Could be anything. Ben Paulin's got a good pedigree in the race, won it a couple of times. But Learned a Lot was, I mean, a massive eye catcher on his debut. I wrote him up, I can't remember if it's the Weekend or Racing and Football Outlook or my GG eye catchers column. I got so many fingers and so many pies, it's hard to keep track. But he was 22 to 1 on his debut at Wincanton, for a maiden hurdle. Should have been a lot bigger, but because there was an odds-on favourite, the SP was contracted. He's up against his 3 to 1 on stablemate Duke of Rockingham. And clearly, the instructions were, for God's sake, we're bound to win this with the other one. Don't get too close to him. And he's slowly away. He's jumped poorly at the first. He's got behind. We know Wincanton's a dog track. He's very hard to win, and over the pace. Like
that's Daryl's favourite.
And it was a case of like, crikey, I'm going to have to start trying in a minute because the favourite's going to get beat. And Duke of Rockingham finished second, got beaten at 3 to 1 on by the Philip Hobbs trained Monavelle, and Learned a Lot was only about 5 lengths back in fourth. You thought, my God, that should have been placed with any sort of ride. Next time out was well back to reverse the form with Monavelle, but only finished 3rd of 5 at Sandown after taking a keen hold, although did get closer to the winner. And then was odds on against Riley at Wetherby over Saturday's course and distance. Again, as Daryl's suggested, perhaps a stiffer test of stamina will suit in time, but there are races to be won with Learned a Lot, and Saturdays could be the start of things. So I'll go Learned a Lot over Joe de Dancer, but it's quite an interesting race, although you sort of, at first glance, you think, crikey, why is this a televised Saturday race? But once you delve into it, you think, oh yeah, there's a lot of interest here for the future.
I was the exact same as the pair of you, where I sort of saw it and I went back and I checked the schedule and I was like, have I accidentally put in the first race and we're actually meant to be doing the second? And no, there it is, like you say, televised. But that's a more of a positive spin on it than Andrew. Thank you very much for that. But Learned a Lot then for you. Back to Ascot now for a handicap hurdle for 3-year-olds and over 2 miles at 2:05, where Any Harm in Asking is the current market leader at 10 to 3 or 130 for Mr. Mount. So back to you, Andrew, now that following my correct reading of his current price.
This is hang on, where have I gone? Oh yeah, Washington was the way I was going here. If you look at this race, so people will tell you, you've got to be a 5 or 6 year old, but 4-year-olds only 1 from 26, but several of those finished second as well. 4 of them finished second at beaten less than a length. 16 to 1, 12 to 1, a couple of 8 to 1 shots. So if you do fancy a 4-year-old, do not get carried away with those 5 and 6-year-old stats. It's a less enticing for those aged 7 or older. 0 from 45, although we've only got 1 representative from that age group. The one I was interested in was another Ollie Murphy trained runner, and that is Washington, who does seem just to do a lot better when fresh. And you look at his record when he's been rested for 6 weeks or longer: 5 runs, 4 wins, and a third from those runs. He won first time out last term. At Bangor, he won first time out the year before at Fakenham, and it's just give him a break between his races. He seems very, very difficult to beat. So it's around about 10 to 1, sort of drifted from the original price of 6s, but I can't necessarily see why. So I'll go with him. The other interesting one for the future is Magistrata. Why the devil they're running him right-handed again, I don't know. Every time he hangs to the left, jumps to the left, particularly when he's run this way round. He's had the Nichols wind up. He's got a new headgear combination. But it'd be interesting to see which way Magistrato goes, probably into the stands and the betting ring, I would think. So another one to watch for the future. Perhaps he can show some promise and then win next time when he goes left-handed, maybe in Newbury next month.
Magistrato, that is brilliant. Yeah. Magistrato in the betting ring. Watch for any promise when he's going in a straight line, and then Lord help any of the fans there in the betting ring. But Washington, though, the main play, like I say, he has drifted out then to 10 to 1 for that fresh angle for Ollie Murphy's charge within this for Andrew. Daryl, who do you like?
Washington.
Oof.
Yeah, I loved this horse all last season. I was gutted he got beat at Aintree when I put him up. I think he's got valid excuses for his runs last year. At Cheltenham in the Grade 2 behind I Like to Move It, who subsequently won the Betfair or come second in the Betfair Hurdle. He just gave the winner a load of rope, and like he was just staying on strongly at the finish, and it was a very steadily run affair. And the winner just got everything his own way. It was a very similar story behind that story at Gino at the same venue on the new course next time. Again, he was finishing well. At Warwick, he should have beaten Barrichello and Good Risk at All, but he travelled beautifully in the race. Even again held up for slowly run race, but he travelled beautifully and made a mistake at the last, nearly down on his nose, and he picked up again, but he just couldn't pick them two up. And Barrichello was at the time absolutely thriving. Won next time out. Good Risk at All, we know, won really well next time out. He dropped back into a novice hurdle at Southwell, just bolted up very easily. And at Aintree, despite the high top speed figure of 121, they steadied that pace right around the back, and he was caught a lot further back than ideal. He was one of the only horses to come from out of the pack and chase down Hacker de Places. I had him on the speed figures. I had him about 8 lengths better than Hacker de Place on that occasion, and he's better off at the weights here today. I can't see how he's not in the free in this race. So I have backed him. I think he's well handicapped. I couldn't believe the handicapper left him alone all season. Effectively, he's only a pound higher than he was, or he's a pound lower when given a handicap mark last year, and he's done nothing but improve for me. So I think he's got a massive chance. I think 10-1 is far too big. I would have him more of a second favourite in this. I suppose the reason he's probably that big is because of the other horse in the race, which is probably the most likely winner is Any Harm in Asking, who could be an absolute weapon. Now, this is going to be a big buzz horse for Twitter this week. I mean, anyone sees that he's beaten Constitution Hill ahead and is point to point is going to just absolutely love this horse. But I wouldn't take that entirely literally. I was going through it and I was trying to work out how good this horse is, and I just couldn't really put my hand on it. He ran in 3 maiden and novice hurdles, and the initial thing to do is to ignore those runs because he's getting a handicap mark. But if you go back and watch him, he actually was being really ridden. He was really there to win, and he couldn't get it done. And whatever happened between December and January, something happened. I don't know what it is, but something happened with this horse, because he's just turned it up a complete notch when he won at Catterick. Now, he wasn't beating a great deal, but his speed figures or his comparable times with any other race on the card were the same as the horse that finished second at Aintree on Sunday, the other novice coming out of novice company. I can't remember his name, but who has form that ties in with Washington, etc. The time was really good, and he did it on the bridle. The annoying thing is that John Joe O'Neill has kept him in horses and kept him on a tight rein, and then just let him win in a canter. So we don't really know how good he is. Everything's come out of one, including the race at Sedgefield. I think he could be very good. I've got him. He's definitely worthy of his mark, that's for sure, and he's open to further improvement. The slight concern with him is going right-handed for the first time. He does jump to the left, so that's a slight concern. The other thing I was thinking is, why are they not running in the Greatwood next week, which is worth a lot more money, unless he is entered in the Greatwood, because I've backed him for it at double-figure price. But unless they're going to run here, win or lose, if he wins, they'll get in under a penalty. If he gets well beaten, then he's needed to run, I suppose. I don't know. I couldn't quite work it out, but I'm going to have a couple of quid on him. I'm going to have to, just because I think he could literally be anything. But Washington is a good each way bet, very good each way bet, I think.
Yeah, I mean, 2 solid cases made there. Like you say, you don't want to put off anyone off of Any Harm in Asking as the current market leader, because he probably is still a fair price. But yeah, that's interesting if he's in the Greatwood as well, then what exactly they're planning on doing with him. But with this outfit, there will be a plan, and there will be something that will probably transpire and pay off then in the long run. But Washington as well for Daryl at the each way price of 10-1. So like that a lot for the pair of you agreeing. We always like that. Right, it is listed action up next at Weatherby in the form of the Mares Hurdle for 4-year-olds and over 2 miles at 2:25. 5 runners here. Molly Ollie's Wishes is back for more after her dominant win in this race last year. But Daryl, can she win it again?
Probably. I really don't like this race. I don't like these mares listed hurdles. Andrew loves him, I think. But,
yeah, he does.
Yeah, he does. But I think Molly's always wishing to take all the beating, really. But I would have a strong opinion. I'm not going to have a betting race.
No, 6-4. She is currently market leader then to win this race again. Andrew, you do like these races. Not entirely sure why, but you do have a fair amount of success. So tell us who's going to win.
Yeah, I do like these races because generally with mares at this sort of level, you can just ignore their runs against geldings and just consider them on what they've done against their own sex. So you might find horses who've sort of been running against the boys for a couple of runs and running poorly, and then they get priced up wrongly for their next race in Mares Only Company. Molly Ollie's Wishes has won her last 5 races in Mares Only Company. She's won 6 of her last 7, 6 of 11 in her career. She won this as a 7-year-old last year. It does tend to have gone to the older mares in recent years. After we had, I think, 4-year-olds win it a few times in a row, but since then it's all been the older generation. She's got obvious claims, 6-4, though nothing to write home about. And the other one I love is Martello Sky. Her hurdling still leaves something to be desired, but she's got a good record in small fields. She tends to struggle when she's crowded. She's had 8 runs in her career in fields of 9 or fewer runners. She's won 7 of them. The slight concern is that it's Weatherby on softish ground early season, and that means the inside of the track is generally where you don't want to be. She tends to race more prominently. Molly Ollie's Wishes, when she won this last year, wide round the outside under Harry Skelton. So I think Martello Sky will finish second to Molly Ollie's Wishes. So not particularly exciting to or controversial to say that because they're favourite and second favourite. But there's your exacta. Don't say you weren't told.
No, don't come back at us and say that. Yeah, Molly Ollie's Wishes from Martello Sky. Then you're 1-2 at Weatherby for Andrew, the ladies' man for the mares races mount. Right, we have the competitive handicap chase at Ascot in the form of a Premier handicap for 4-year-olds and over 2 miles and half a furlong at 240, where it's 92 the field, with Before Midnight leading the way. But I have 2 to take Before Midnight on with. The first being Frero Banbou, who will be one of the first Venetia Williams runners out for quite a while on Saturday. And I really like this lad, who I just think has much more to offer still. Now, he was well beaten in this race last year, sent for his favourite, could only finish 4th, obviously promoted to 3rd, then beaten 19 lengths with the disqualification of Amula Gold. About a year later, he got disqualified. But he's really bounced back to much better form, though, than after that last season, gaining a really decisive win at Lingford in January in deep ground. I still think he will hopefully cope with this better ground, and if not, we know that Venetia won't run him. And I still think there's more mileage in this mark, which remains the same as his disappointing effort on that final start of last season, and just never travelling at Aintree, but hopefully a freshen up. We'll see him in a better light. And I also like, and I'm fascinated by, the outsider of the field in Daly Tiger. Stable debut here for Laura Morgan, previously in the Gigginstown colours when trained by Noel Mead, sold for £40,000. It's become a bit of a cliche itself nowadays, hasn't it, of Laura Morgan just being able to revitalise her recruits no matter what level they were running at beforehand. She's just brilliant, isn't she? And he was given £4 back for his down the field effort in the Galway Plate. So this mark's still feasible for him, provided the switch of yards has freshened him up. So there's 2 for me, Andrew. You can do likewise if you want.
Yeah, I think I've got a short list of 5, which isn't particularly helpful. Amula Gold has won this race for the last 2 years. From betting, I know he was subsequently disqualified for whatever reason last time, but for betting purposes, he's won it for the last twice. He's obviously been aimed at this race again. Nasalam's got a wonderful record when fresh. His first 2 runs each season are when rested for more than 6 weeks after. 5 wins from 5 starts. He won the novice handicap chase on this card last year, so he's obviously been targeted at this meeting. Frero Banbou Rocher, the Venus Williams horse. Venus has got a fantastic record at this, at Ascot in sort of October, November time, which I think is just this meeting, really, isn't it? What is she? 18 winners from 98 in the last 25 years, which, as far as my database goes back, profit of almost £55. She says she always targets this meeting. Generally speaking, if you could choose the ground for her runners at this time of year, you'd want heavy or at least soft. Maybe it is on the quick side, but although he was well beaten this last year, he did bit too much too soon, I think. The winner, the second, the third came from well off the pace, and he was best of the prominent races in fourths, so I'd give him a good chance. And like you say, the outsiders. I mean, you got Daly Tiger. We were talking about this off air before we started recording. You can back all Laura Morgan trained chasers and make a very good profit over the years. And Joke Dancer was another one. Sue Smith. I lay Sue Smith seasonal debutantes at this time of year because they always need their run. They've got a terrible record. I laid Joke Dancer at Weatherby last time, win and place, and my God, he came there to win the race. I was absolutely pooing it, and you know, as it was, he finished second, 3 lengths behind El Baracho in a three runner race. And so I thought it was interesting that he's out again 17 days later, coming all the way south for a run. You know, probably don't want to waste the diesel money. I'll go Frero Banbou of the ones I like, but I will be throwing a few quid at Joke Dancer as well.
Love that. Frero Banbou then for you and I. Yeah, Venetia Williams, according to Andrew's pronunciation there, she's not bad with a tennis racket or training horses either, old Venus there. So Frero Banbou for Andrew and I then. Daryl, who do you like?
Yeah, I don't know. I thought it was a good race, but I couldn't really pin my colours to a mast, really. I wanted to be against Before Midnight. I'm not a massive fan of that horse. I think it's too high in the handicap for what he's achieved. Frero Rocher or Frero Banbou.
You started it now.
Frero Banbou. I thought he went on favourite for this race last year, didn't he? At 4-1. I thought he just jumped poorly. I thought he got hampered really at the start, and I thought he just knocked his confidence a bit, and he just jumped poorly. I thought he actually did quite well to only be beating 19 lengths, considering it's very hard to come from off the pace at Ascot as well. You kind of want to be. I know Amula Gold's got a great record to come off the pace, but he seems to be a specialist at doing so. Nassalam I'd be against just because he jumps violently out to his left. He got away with it last year when beating Solo, but I didn't look fondly on that performance really on a right-handed track. Diego de Charmel's an interesting runner. He's got Freddie Ginger on. He's claiming £10 off. He's effectively off 134 or whatever now. But he's traded at 6-4 or shorter 8 times in his career and been beaten. And remember when he threw Capeland through the wing of the fence in this race?
Yeah.
Was it in this race? It was in this race, yeah. But there's something going on up there with him, isn't there? So I don't know. Gumball's interested back over fences, but I like it when he goes from the front. Paddy Brennan, whenever he's been on board, holds him up at the rear of the field. So I couldn't really pin my colours to him. I mean, I'll go with Moolah Gold just tentatively, but I thought it was a fascinating race. I can't wait to watch it, but from a betting perspective, it's not for me really.
Yeah, like I say, it is fascinating, isn't it? But Moolah Gold to sort of bring up the hat trick in this race for all that he was disqualified last year. But yeah, 11-2 though, still for a horse that absolutely loves this course and distance and this race in particular. Grade 2 action up next in the form of the West Yorkshire Hurdle. For 4-year-olds and over 3 miles at 3 o'clock at Weatherby. 6 runners here. Sporting John makes his reappearance, still over hurdles after really improving for being turned into a staying hurdler last season. But Daryl Indefatigable is back for more of this race, who I think at least one of you two tipped up to win this race last year. I can't remember who, but yeah, do you like it this time around or something else?
Yeah, now that'd be Andrew. He absolutely adores this horse.
That Cheltenham run at 40-1 when she fell when in contention. I mean, I just would love to have seen what would have happened. I'm sure it should have been in the places, but we'll never know.
I thought Sporting John was at the right favourite. In all honesty, he should be maybe a little bit shorter. I know you could sort of look at his form and say he's been winning handicaps, but he's been doing it lumping around a load of weight. He's obviously missed Cheltenham and Aintree. I can't remember what the reason was for. Was he injured, wasn't he?
I actually can't remember. I was trying to think that myself why we didn't see him again, but I just remember reading that he was out for Cheltenham and Aintree and didn't understand why.
Maybe he's one to tread carefully with at the top of the market, but he'll probably drift on the day. But I think he's got likeable claims. I think he's still improving. I think there's more to come from him. This division's been a very stale division for quite a while now. And for me, I just thought if there was going to be someone that's going to break it open, it probably could be him this season. It's 7 going into his 8-year-old season. There's still definitely improvement to come from him. Respect Indefatigable, Proshigma, I don't think he stays. I really don't. Every time he's run over 3 miles, I've clocked his figures, and it's been slowly run races turn into sprints as this was last year. I'm just not convinced he really stays. I thought 300 through 5 and Oscar Elite were both very interesting. I can't believe Oscar Elite's a 22 to 1 shot and 300 through 5's a 13 to 2 shot. That's wrong. That's very wrong. Oscar Elite finished well ahead of him in the Bartlett. And 300 through 5 was sort of all over the place. It takes a while to gather his stride. Look, I tell you what, I'll just based on price, I'll go Oscar Elite. For an each way bet. First 2 places, Oscar Elite.
Cool. Well, yeah, 22 to 1 then for the outsider of the field, like you say, for the purposes of this podcast, then from price dictated, Oscar Elite outsider of the field each way for Daryl. Andrew, are you sticking with your lovely mare?
Yeah, I'll stick with my lovely mare. I've no strong opinion, to be honest, but given that Indefatigable won last year and Proshima was second, I'll probably do the tote exact to that pair to finish 1-2 again. I mean, Proshima came there cruising on the outside last year, and as Daryl said, perhaps didn't stay. We've seen time and time again, hurdles, softish ground, early season at Weatherby, you want to be wide round the outside. Proshima had the perfect run through, but couldn't go through with it. So probably Indefatigable to confirm the form. The fascinating one for me is 300 through 5. This is a horse who jumped violently out to his right at Cheltenham last time in Grade 1 Chase Company, as he had done several times before. He's never lost going right-handed, 4 from 4. Often winning by wide margins. I thought he was a potential King George horse, and he was beaten at odds on first time out last season. It looks like this is just a prep, and he's entered at Newbury, I think, isn't he? But I'd love to see him go right-handed and rock up in the King George at 33 to 1 or bigger and surprise a few people. So it's a fascinating race, for the with a few clues for the rest of the season. But for Saturday's race, Indefatigable for me.
Oh, good. Indefatigable then to win again here. But yeah, I mean, 300 through 5, maybe one for your notebooks for later on in the season, back over fences and overstaying trips and right-handed. Again, then it is more competitive action at Ascot in the form of another Premier Handicap chase. This time it is the Bateau London Gold Cup for 4-year-olds and over 3 miles at 3:15. Wide open race again. And again, I'm bottling it because I'm siding with 2. The first being T Clipper, who should be set right for this on the back of his second last time out at Chepstow when bumping into Peregrine Run, who made the most of his fitness in a British handicap. But T Clipper ran a solid race, means he has incurred a £3 rise, but he's fit, consistent, and just a solid play for me. And I also like Up the Straight at 18 to 1, as I couldn't resist that price about another horse who comes here on the back of a fair enough reappearance when second at Fontwell last time out behind a revitalised Milton Harris horse who collared him on the run-in after he idled when hitting the front too soon. Hopefully that won't happen here. Off the same mark. Step up in trip, I think, will suit him. So there's another 2 for me, Andrew. Who do you like?
Yeah, a bit gutted about T Clipper last time. I've been sort of tipped him up at 9 to 4, seen him go off at 11 to 8 and get chinned a neck after trading about 10 to 1 on. But that's race. Yeah, he's a March to October sort of good ground horse, isn't he? And he was laid out for one of the handicaps at the Cheltenham Festival last year after gaining chase experience in sort of Grade 1, Grade 2 company, which is pretty clever, because he finished sort of like well beaten at 3 times, but still got 20 grand prize money for his troubles. There's a good race in him, I think. Whether it's this one, if there is any more rain between now and Saturday, maybe not. I'll probably just leave him alone. I'm just gonna, for the purpose of this video, I've not really done enough work on this race yet to be confident. But I love Regal Encore. He's a 14-year-old, but the fact they've kept him in training and they've returned him to a race in which he was placed last year at his favourite track. He's had 15 runs in his career at Ascot. He's finished in the first 3 in 10 of those 15 starts. I've been watching the prices. He's gone from 25 to 18 to 1 since we started recording this video. So I think this is the swan song. I can imagine him running a really big race here and being retired afterwards. So yeah, hopefully Regal Encore to go out on a high.
Yeah, he's just wonderful, isn't he? Like I say, 14 years old. I think it's Anthony Honeyball's wife or something that rides him every day as well. They absolutely adore him. So this might just be a final hurrah then for Regal Encore at 18 to 1 being backed in, as Andrew says. Daryl, any stronger opinions?
Yeah, I'm with Regal Encore.
Oh,
Yeah, I've already backed him. I thought Anthony would have him absolutely cherry ripe, spot on for the last crack of his career. He's well handicapped. Yes, he's a 14 or going 15, but this is his Gold Cup, I think, today. Whereas I think a lot of these are prepping for bigger targets down the line. I know this is worth a good prize still, but they're not going to be too disheartened if they get beaten. They've got the rest of this, a lot of stay and chases to come this season. Whereas I thought this was the one and only opportunity now for Regal Encore. And yeah, I thought he had a great record. I thought he's got a great record at the track. I thought the handicap has been fairly lenient, dropping him in the weights fairly quickly, given his age. Sometimes when they get to that age, despite how they're running, they still drop him very quickly. Look, to ask him to win is a big, big ask. But to ask him to get in the first 4 or 5, I think is a good bet at 18, 20 to 1. So, yeah, Regal Encore was the one I was with. It's the only one I wanted to be with as well.
Oh, the only one as well. Oh, I don't know why I get so sort of whimsical about horses like this. This is the beauty of jumps racing, isn't it? And the fact that both of you sided with him probably is also why he's been clipped in as well, from 25 to 1 into 18 to 1 for the old boy. Regal Encore, 14 going on 15 running in this race on a Saturday at Ascot. Just awesome stuff. And our final race is the big one. It's the Grade 2 Charlie Hall Chase for 5 rods and over 3 miles. And what drama we had in this race last year. But again, we have a fascinating clash, though, this time around. Brave Man's Game versus Ahoy Senor. If my maths are correct, I think this is mark 4 of this battle between these two. The old rivalry back again. Love to see it. Daryl, who wins it?
Do you remember who tipped the winner of this race last year?
What, the actual winner or what should have won?
No, the
moral winner.
The moral winner or the actual winner?
You two tipped the moral winner. And buy a little Futsal raffles game.
Yeah.
I was like, yes.
The moral winner or the actual winner. I know you were the one who was better off.
Well, I got paid.
I was going to say I tried to dine out on my moral winnings last night. I got short shrift from the restaurant.
What a great race! What a fantastic race this year. I think they've got the wrong favourite. I think they've got completely the wrong favourite. For me, like, Brave Man's Game's a great horse, a gorgeous looking horse. I can't have that he left his race at Cheltenham and didn't run his race at Aintree. Yeah. I can't have that at all. I think Ahoy Senor is the faster horse. I think he's a stronger stayer. He's definitely not the better jumper, but the fact that he still absolutely destroyed him at Aintree and still lost that ground going out to the right. God, he's some weapon. If he's fit and well, and I suspect that, this would have been an early season target for them. I don't think he's just going to be, dotting around here. But I think he's an absolute weapon. I really do. I went and did, don't take this literally, but I went and just did loads of comparisons of his time with his Aintree win. The day before Clanders Over had run. Now, the reason not to take this literally is because they had a bit of rain that day. It may have dried overnight. It's 2 days. You shouldn't compare, right? But just for context and a bit of fun, he was 49 lengths faster than Clanders Over was. 49 lengths. Now, even if you give or take 20, 25 lengths for the crown, like, it was ridiculous. If you compare it to Fakir Dalderi's, who ran on the same day over 2 miles 4 as Ahoy Senor did, he was only 9 lengths slower on the final circuit than Fakir Dalderi. Like, that was a seriously impressive performance. And he achieved his highest RPR of 166 when winning that race. Brave Man's Game achieved his highest RPR of 165 when beating Pat's Fancy by 3 lengths at Newbury. Like, I do think that a lot of this, I know he beat Ahoy Senor on a right-handed track, Kempton. I don't think Ahoy Senor was well suited at all by the track. I don't think there's valid excuses. But Brave Man's Game has now been behind him twice. And Ahoy Senor's still not favourite. I don't get it. I think the prices are completely wrong. I think it's Brave Man's Game that's now got to prove that he's better than Ahoy Senor. The fact that Brave Man's Game's never been here either, and the fact that Ahoy Senor has got a great course win over Noble Yates, a Grand National winner, to his name here, I think it stacks up fine. I know what they're trying to do. They put secret investor in here, Bryony Frostod, to try and hassle him for the lead. But I actually think when he gets a horse up beside him, I actually think he jumps straighter. So I think it'll actually benefit him. I think he's the best horse in the race. I think he's the one open to most improvement. I think he's exciting for the future. I think he'll take a world of beating. I think 9 to 4 is a great price.
Oh, I love it, love it. Totally agree with everything you said there, Daryl. Bullish as it comes, and totally agree with you as well. I mean, I think we were both on him, weren't we, when in the Mile Bay? Yeah, last time out as well to overturn Braveman's game. So why would we desert him now? Was I just knocked my drink over? Why would we desert him now, as Braveman's game is currently the 3-2 market leader? Weird price. But yeah, Ahoy Senor then for Daryl and I. Andrew, who do you like?
Yeah, I've bet Eldorado Allen anti-post. I thought, like you guys, though, that Ahoy Senor deserved more respect in the market, probably should be favourite. I still think he's going to end up over hurdles at some stage this season, probably with a long walk or the entry stairs hurdle. I'm not totally convinced that he's all there in the jumping department. But Eldorado Allen's got a fantastic record when fresh. I mean, you look at he's 4 from 4 in October and November as well. His seasonal debut record is 3 wins and a 3/4 of a length second in a handicap from 4 starts. And I thought everything's right for him to run a big race here. And
it's interesting they're not sending him for the Howden Gold Cup, isn't it?
Yeah, I was thinking, each way would be a good angle. I mean, I suppose now I'll back him to win. I'll probably put him in an exacta to finish second to Ahoy Senor if that one just like blasts off and wins by 30 lengths, as he has got the potential to do. But I thought he was the one that was perhaps a shade overpriced in the race. But it's an absolute cracker. But yeah, quite happy to take on Braveman's game.
Oh, perfect. So we're all taking on the market leader, Braveman's game, but Eldorado Allen, last year's Holden Gold Cup winner, in this context to take on these new up-and-coming second season novice chasers then. So really, really exciting there with Charlie Hall this year. So Andrew, I'll throw it back to you, please, for anything from anywhere else.
Yeah, at Newmarket in the 323, a horse of Brian Meehan's called Lawful Command. This one was a big eye-catcher in the Britannia handicap when doing second best of those to race up with the pace at Royal Ascot. And this one generally needs sort of 7 furlongs or a mile on softish ground. Got a really good record in the autumn and the spring. Won twice around this time last year. And since stepped up to 7 furlongs, is 4 wins from 4 starts in the spring or autumn. Been off the track for 92 days, coming back fresh than most of his rivals. So Lawful Command. And then the 508 Astral Bow for Pam Sly. Got a really good record at 7 furlongs, particularly since the cheap pieces went on. Bit unlucky to bump into Yennefer at York last time, and of course Yennefer's I think won twice since then. So Lawful Command, Astro Bow, both at Newmarket.
Like it a lot. From Andrew. Daryl, anything from anywhere else?
No, I have nothing under my hat.
I like the metaphor.
Other than a shaved head.
The literal metaphor that you've just managed to produce to us to explain that. I appreciate that a lot. Okay, then Daryl, back to you, please, for your nap.
Oh, I think I like Ahoy Senor. I think it's a very fair price, but I think an each way bet on Washington is probably the way to play. A decent price for a place, if any harm in asking, is again, there's another weapon. So yeah, Washington, I think.
Each way nap, perfect. Yeah, that's all right. Because I thought you were going to go Ahoy Senor, because I'm going Ahoy Senor in the 335 at Weatherby. So thank God Daryl's managed to allow me that one. Andrew, who do you like?
It could be a weapon. That one earlier on today at Worcester. I'm surprised Daryl didn't nap it. Given there's liberal use of the word weapon today. I'll go Lawful Command in the 323, but yeah, I've got more work to do on the non-televised racing. So check my column as ever and see what I come up with for Saturday. As
ever, like you say, all of the lads and all of their selections then will be in their columns for the weekend when they've done a bit more work on it for the rest of the day. But thank you so much to the lads for all of their hard work as per usual. Thank you to you for watching. Best of luck with your selections this weekend and enjoy the jumps being back.